Today, I get to listen to the brand new Blue October album. This is Spinning the Truth Around, Part 1. Hello everybody, and welcome back to another album review / reaction here on my channel. If you've never seen a video like this before on my channel, just know that what I'm going to basically do is take the CD, put it in my computer, and listen to it all the way through from front to back for the very first time, while talking over the music, I would say for a majority of the time, so be prepared for that. While talking over the music, sort of giving you my impressions of what I'm hearing. Now, as you noticed probably in the title of the video, it says audio engineer. I am an audio engineer. I have a degree in audio engineering, and I've been working in the recording industry, the music industry, the editing industry, the audio industry, if you will, for about the last 15, 16 years or so. I worked at a professional recording studio in Omaha, Nebraska for 7 years, working on all sorts of things: commercials, audiobooks, music, my own music, other people's projects, metal projects, acoustic projects, all sorts of different things. And so what I try to focus on mostly on my channel here is things that would maybe be considered the production aspect of music, and not necessarily so much the lyrics or some sort of like a deep personal meaning or anything like that. Usually I tend to focus on how things were recorded, especially things during the mix. You know, why did they choose to put this sound over here? What balances with that? How good everything sounds, the production quality of everything. Why did the band choose the sounds that they chose to include in the song? Things like that. And I rarely focus on lyrics, so I just want to point that out. And one of the reasons I want to point that out is because I know that Justin Furstenfeld's lyrics are a big part of Blue October. And as a person who's been a Blue October fan for many, 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 many years, I know that a lot of people looking maybe for a Blue October reaction would probably be looking for some lyrical breakdowns and things like that, and that is not what I really do on my channel. So if I notice a lyric or something that really strikes me, I will certainly mention it, and we can talk about it, you know, if I feel like we should. But other than that, otherwise, I'll probably, for the most part, ignore the lyrics, maybe just focus on the melody of the vocals. The vocals, like I said, how they were recorded, whether there's overdubs, all sorts of things. So just be aware of that. So I'll be listening all the way through, and then, like I said, I'll listen all the way through, talking over it for the most part, and then after I'm done listening to the album, I will sit for a little while and give my sort of overall thoughts, and that's what I sort of refer to as my review. You'll notice in the description of this video, I will include timestamps for all the different sections, including each individual song on the album. So if you have a favorite song and you'd like to just skip to that, hear my reaction to that song, that's totally cool. If you want to skip the whole listening of everything and just go to the end and hear my overall thoughts on the album, that's absolutely fine as well. So watch whatever you want to watch. Another thing that I want to say real quick at the beginning is that on my channel, sometimes I have issues with copyright. And so what I try to do on my channel is include the actual audio from the album in the video so that you watching this video can listen and hear exactly what I'm hearing. But some artists, they have their music on YouTube here set to such a setting such that if someone uses their music in a video without their permission, the video gets blocked in every country. And so if that is the case and I upload the video and unfortunately I get a copyright claim such that it's completely blocked, I will have to end up uploading this video without the music in it. And I really hope that that doesn't happen. I'm not too sure. Blue October is a pretty big band, but I would think that they would be smart enough to know that if people are using their music for reaction videos like this, that it's you know, good promotion for them and only helps the band overall. I will say my channel is not monetized. I have no ads on any of my videos. I don't feel like my channel is big enough to really warrant anything like that, and I don't have a Patreon you know, channel. I don't have any way for anyone to donate money. I do this purely because I like the idea of listening to music with other people, and I don't have anyone in my life to listen to music with. So I started this channel so I could just sort of share my thoughts with everybody, and I've gotten all sorts of really good comments over the last 2 years or so that I've been doing this, that when I see a really good comment about how, you know, a lot of the times when one of the comments on my videos that always gets me is when someone's like, wow, I can't believe I found someone that's as passionate about this band as I am. And that really makes it all worth it for me at the end of the day. But So no money or anything like that will ever go to me from this video. And I only point that out because I don't know if channels who are not like partnered with YouTube have different copyright restrictions or rules or anything. I'm not too sure. But I don't mess with any of that stuff. So unfortunately, if I get a copyright strike because I've tried to use the audio from this album, I will have to upload the video without any audio in it. So just bear with me. I will also include in the description of the video a link to listen to the album. I'll try to find like one of those Linktree links so that you can like listen to it on whatever platform you want. But if nothing else, I will always post the Spotify link to listen along with me on Spotify. So I'll clearly have everything labeled on screen, what song I'm listening to at what point, and I'll try to say like, okay, the song's starting now, so you can try to sync up with me, or at least be somewhat close, and then when I'm commenting on, you'll be able to understand. But hopefully, fingers and toes and everything else that you can crossed, we'll be able to use the album from the audio from the album. So one fun thing that I want to mention here is that you may have noticed this plant here next to me. Normally, I don't have plants like this in my videos. However, it's getting to the point where it's fall now. I live in Nebraska, where we've already had our several frosts, and every year at the beginning of the summer, I go with my mom and help her purchase. We pick out some really cool looking coleus plants, which is what this is. And so she puts them in her backyard, and they grow huge like this, just from a tiny little plant, they grow like this. And this year I was like, I'm going to use one of the coleus plants and put it in a video. Well, I never did it over the summer, and by the time I got around to wanting to do it for this video, it had already frosted. So it's taken like 2 weeks for me to get this album in the mail. This album actually came out, I believe, on October 9th, and as of recording this, I think it's the 24th. Maybe even the 25th, I'm not sure. It's a Tuesday, or it's a Wednesday, actually. Holy cow, yeah, it's probably the 25th. But I was really hoping to I just ordered it from Amazon with free shipping because I ordered something over $25. Anyway, so not free 2-day shipping because I don't have Amazon Prime. But anyway, I was hoping to get this album earlier, and so it's been actually a chore to keep this poor plant alive in our garage for the last 2 weeks since the first frost. So hopefully everyone appreciates this. I love coleus. They're my absolute favorite plant. I love how they all look. And I actually had 2 that I was trying to keep alive, to have one on the other side over here and be surrounded by these awesome looking plants, but it unfortunately died, and is basically, it's the time of year to get rid of the plants and stuff like that, so I don't feel bad at all about it dying, but I was just a little disappointed that I wasn't able to use it in the video. But I just had to point it out and say that that's why there's a plant here. So the next thing I want to do real quick before we actually get into listening to Spinning the Truth Around Part 1 is to say that this is actually one of the very first bands on my channel that I am doing the second reaction to an album of theirs on my channel. Blue October's last album that came out, which I forget what it's called because, well, I have another Blue October reaction on my channel reacting to their last album that came out 2 years ago, and that reaction was the first negative reaction I did on my channel, which I try not to ever do albums that I would think I would hate or anything like that, but sometimes it happens. And the last Blue October album, which actually I'll just look, I have it over here. This Is What I Live For, this album. This is one of the most frustrating and disappointing albums I've ever heard. I absolutely love Blue October. I'm pretty sure everything that they have released in their catalog. But this particular album really destroyed me because it was within the first, I think, 6 months of my starting my review channel. And when I listened to this album, I was so disappointed because on this album, for some reason, I have no clue why they chose to do this. I think it was a terrible decision. There's 13 songs. I believe 1 or 2 of them are instrumental. And of the rest of the songs that are left, 6 of them have the vocals, the lead vocals, the vocals the entire time, spread wide left and wide right. And that is in my opinion, this is a subjective thing, that is a terrible decision that absolutely ruined this album for me. I have only listened to this album twice, once for the reaction, and then once later, a couple months later, when I was getting ready for my top 12 albums of the year. I put this in and I tried to listen to it and I could not get over it. There are certain production aspects that if a band chooses to do, I cannot forgive them for doing. And so if you want to hear my whole reaction to that and just see me be absolutely devastated with the fact that Blue October made what is, in my opinion, their first fully bad album in their entire catalog, and again, I believe that's because of a production choice. I don't think that the songs are bad. I don't think they're poorly written. I don't think anything sounds bad sonic quality wise. I think the mix is fantastic, other than the fact that the lead vocals, they chose to have the lead vocals spread wide. And so if you want to see that video, go on my channel and look. I'll put a link to it in the description of this video. I don't know how to do like annotations or anything like that to have it fly across the screen. If I could figure that out, maybe I'd do that. But just know that I was so disappointed with Blue October's last album that I've actually been like dreading listening to this album, because if they chose to do that same effect on this album, then I may have to just wash my hands of Blue October. Especially because this, once you open it, if you're unfamiliar, it says right in here in the bottom, part 2 coming soon, and then I don't know if I with my lighting right here, part 3 coming soon. And so one of the reasons I've been trepidatious about this is because if this album, the one we're going to listen to today, if this album is disappointing or has some production factor to it that I can't get over, does that mean that this trilogy of albums, which is what it appears to be, that I'm going to have to disregard the next 2 Blue October's albums after this one, this trilogy of albums? So anyway, I just, I felt it was important to point that out, and to just say that, like, the thing that was the most disappointing to me about it was that this album was really close to being awesome. Like, there was one decision that they made that completely ruined the album for me, and I can't even go back and enjoy the other 5 or 6 songs on the album that the vocals aren't spread wide, because I just can't get over that fact. And so, it was the most frustrating thing I've ever listened to, I think, because everything else about the album was just like, hey, you would love these melodies, you would love the drums, you would love the production, you would love the songwriting, you would love everything about it. That just one decision totally ruined it for me. So I'm really hoping that they're back to form on this album, and that the mixing is done in such a way that I can actually listen to it. And I know that that's probably the most like snooty, hoity-toity thing that I could possibly say, but unfortunately. Okay, sorry, I was repeating myself, but I keep getting phone calls, and I had to tell my grandma to stop calling because I'm recording, and I want to talk about Blue October, damn it. So, anyway, just know I'm trepidatious, but I'm also really excited to finally listen to this album. One other thing I wanted to do real quick at the beginning of this video was to just quickly go through the Blue October stuff that I have. Their very first album, their second album, their third album, their fourth album, 2 copies of it, one of my favorite albums of all time, Foiled. Here's their live, I think this is the DVD. Yeah, the live DVD, Approaching Normal. This is an acoustic show thing. Sway, which was disappointing to me. Any Man in America. I'm not sure if these are all in the right order, but no, I guess Sway would come after this. But anyway, Any Man in America, which I think is one of the only albums I've ever heard that is so personal, even with its lyrics. I know I mentioned I don't care about lyrics that much. The lyrics on this album are so personal that it actually, to me, detracts from the album to the point where this is one of my least favorite Blue October albums. And then we have, actually, I'm missing one of them. I must have left it upstairs. It's the one with Home on it. I'm not sure if it's called Home or not. Not sure where that is, actually. But anyway, I've got it somewhere. I've been listening to Blue October the last few weeks because I've been excited to listen to Spinning the Truth Around. So, but I just want to say, other than this album, their most recent one, their last 2 albums, this one, which is called I Hope You're Happy, and the other one that has Home on it, and I'm not sure if that's what the album is called. I think it might be. It's sort of like Tan. I think those 2 albums have been really fantastic. And when I go back and listen to them now, I think I enjoy them even more than when I first listened to them when they first came out. And so going back and listening to these 2 albums, I was like, okay, that eased a lot of my tension that I had surrounding the band after they came out with this album. Like, I know that they can have phenomenal production. I know that they can write phenomenal songs. And so I just, wanted to just go quickly point that out, go through their discography here. But that's enough. That's enough reminiscing. That's enough of me trying to get through that whole conversation there without the phone ringing and my grandma calling. But okay. So I feel like I've been meandering, so let's just forget all this stuff and get to what we're actually here for, which is listening to Spinning the Truth Around Part 1. So before we do that, look real quick here on the table, and I'll be right back with you. So we're listening to Blue October. Of course, I had to have my favorite beverage in the whole world, Blue Mountain Dew Blue Voltage Mountain Dew, and gonna enjoy it. I also have a tiny bit of orange juice ice left in the bottom of my glass. So I've done that before, and I will say that, you know, blue raspberry flavored Mountain Dew with orange flavored ice isn't the greatest thing in the world, but it'll be okay. I feel like this video has been a bit of a mess. I've only been recording for 25 minutes, but I wanted to get right into the album right away, which if you're familiar with my channel, you will know that I generally tend to talk for a long time at the beginning of the videos. So I really wanted to get this one into Blue October right away. And so, without further ado, let me take the book out here. Oh, that was one other thing I did want to mention, and I know sometimes people get mad at me when I mention this on my channel, but it's my channel and I'm going to mention it. I do not enjoy, well, it's not that I don't enjoy. I don't have any swearing on my channel whatsoever, and I was looking through the lyrics of this yesterday when I opened it, which, by the way, this has that good new CD smell. And if you're listening to this, you might know what I'm talking about, that just that good new CD smell. But I was looking through the lyrics, and I saw 3 songs, just without really looking through it, that had swear words in them. So just know what you're going to be hearing is I will go through and edit these songs so that what you're hearing is the actual edited version. So there will be no swearing on my channel. And I know, like I said, sometimes people comment and they're like, I wish you would just get over the fact that they're swearing. Swearing in music does not ruin music for me, unless it's like overly ridiculous. But like I always say, if you're gonna swear in music, make it meaningful. Don't just be stupid, and don't swear for a shock factor ever, because to me that just makes me roll my eyes. But Blue October, obviously Justin Furstenfeld, they've had swearing in their music from the very beginning, from, you know, Consent to Treatment all the way through. They have had certain songs that did have swearing in them. So I don't think it's odd or out of the place at all that there are some swear words in some of these songs. But just know that the songs you will be hearing will be edited. So I'm going to stop going on and on about that now. And we'll get to the actual album. I may refer to the lyrics every now and then. I believe that it's all the same members of the band as has been for quite a while. Will Knack might be a slightly newer name, but Ryan Delahousie, Matt Novisky, and then Jeremy and Justin Furstenfeld, of course, have been in Blue October for quite a while, as far as my memory serves. And so let's get into this. Blue October, Spinning the Truth Around, Track 1, Spinning the Truth Around, starting right now.
Driving home, the radio on, got a tune to the loneliest station.
Now, I will say I did listen to the first like 10 seconds of this song when the vocals started, and I was like, oh, vocals in the middle. Thank you. Wow, that kick is fat. And just a hi-hat, very closed hi-hat, little tap sounds. And then some synth pads in the back, very nice, floaty. Ooh. Some guitar with some very, very widespread stereo reverb, kind of. Maybe a little bit of like a wobble to it. Chorusing effect. Justin's high vocal overdub in there. Palm muted guitar off to the side a little bit. Very nice. Very subtle the guitars have been so far this whole song. Even here when they're sort of a bit more of a focal point, they're still very subtle. Some vocal samples in there with some distortion in the middle.
Dancing in the rain to put our fire out. Wondering if it's ever gonna spark again. Wondering if you'll ever.
That reverb is interesting. It sounds like the background vocal, the overdub vocal for Justin, one of the harmony vocals, is a little bit distorted, but there's multiple overdub vocals in there. again, the kick snare sound great. Hi-hat just doing the same thing it was doing verse 1. Those sort of... The thing that I'm really noticing is how spread wide the sort of background sounds are. Those synths, and even some slow guitars with like a chorusing, a panning effect on it.
I don't want change. We both want more. I'll give it a minute. Stay close by and wait till the truth comes out.
Now Justin's doing his vocals here in a way that he's always done them, and whenever I think about Justin's vocal technique, I always think of him doing a bit more of a more intense, a little bit more of a pushed vocal in an octave up from the cleanest sounding vocal that he has, which is a lower octave sounding vocal, and then he'll have harmony vocals with those. But for the most part, when I think of Justin's vocals, I think of this sort of more shouty, more intense vocal in the middle. Not necessarily shouty, but more intensely performed, higher register vocal in the middle, and then having the lower register, an octave lower vocal underneath that. And the lower register vocal is always a little bit cleaner and clearer and less reverb, and that's he overdubs those so perfectly. It feels like one sound, even though you can tell that there's multiple takes in there, multiple overdubs. Ooh, that was an interesting little whoop whoop whoop. Sounded like a guitar slide almost. So the synth pads and everything in the background were rising, I guess, at the end there, making the song feel like it was building up a lot, even though that drum beat stayed for the most part the same the entire song. This is nice. Hear a little piano. Now I will say, oh, we still have quite a bit to go on this song. That's really nice. One thing I was going to point out is we have like almost 5 minute song, 4.5 minutes, 4.5 minutes, 5.5 minutes, a couple 3-minute songs, 4.5 minutes, 7 minutes, 13 seconds, 4:18, 6:11, 4:37, and 4:26. So these songs are all very long. Now I did also notice that the last track, Big Love, in the book has like a gospel choir listed. Oh, I didn't even see this last page of who wrote the songs. Well, that's interesting. Obviously, Justin Furstenfeld is the primary songwriter for everything. But it says we have like vocals, Texas State University Gospel Expressions, plus a bunch of, some different people. We have piano on a lot of the tracks. We have vocals by Jenna Wren on several tracks. So we do have some different... One of the songs says Opera by Benjamin Ruiz. That's on When Love Isn't Good Enough, which is track... It's toward the end of the album, I guess. So we'll get to that when we get to that, but wow. I love that. I love the piano at the end there, sort of like a nice outro. Something to connect maybe to track 2, which we're on right now, which is The Shape of Your Heart. Oh, yeah. Yeah, I love the bass, just simple quarter notes or eighth notes. And with those drums, very tight, snappy drums. Justin is a big fan of hip-hop music, and one of the things I've loved about a lot of Blue October's more recent music is that he's not been afraid to include more hip-hop sounding drums in a lot of their stuff. You know, their earlier albums sounded much more like a rock band, whereas this is cool because I'm getting the guitar, I'm getting the bass, I'm getting the drums, I'm getting the vocals like you would have from a rock band, and the drums do sound like they were played. You know, I'm sure the sounds we're hearing are probably samples, and they were re-drummed, basically. Not re-drummed. What's the word I'm looking for? Replaced. They were replaced. But I love the way this is sounding. So this style of vocals with it spread wide like this. This is how the vocals were done for the entirety of 6 of the songs on their last album. So this is really scaring me. I'm starting to sweat here because I do not like this. Hopefully they're just doing it in the chorus of this song. Love the pizzicato there. I assume... Now that might sound like a keyboard's pizzicato, but that could also be Ryan plucking his violin. Okay, vocals back in the middle. I would be much more okay with it if they did it as an effect during parts of the song, but If we get to a point of the song, a song that's just spread wide the whole time, I am going to absolutely lose it. Because I hate this. I hate this. Why would you do that? I can tell you why they did it. Because then what does it do? It leaves room in the middle for the rest of the instruments to just be in the middle, and then the vocals seem wide and big. That's what they're trying to do. And I would much prefer the vocals in the middle, and then you use the instruments on the outside. But now in this song as well, we also have those sort of pads in the background. They're probably synth pads, but they could also be very distorted and delayed and reverbed guitar of some kind, creating like a nice bed underneath. But there's constant sound in the background, which gives it really cool, almost sort of like a bit of an eerie feel. It certainly lends atmosphere, maybe not eerie, but in this song in particular, I'm getting a bit more of like an eerie feel. But we also have some very breathy stuff, like when the chorus kicked in here, there was that sound in there, which was kind of neat. It almost sounded like a wash cymbal, where you put a chain on a cymbal. Maybe not sure it's not a wash cymbal, but when you put a chain on a cymbal, like a chain or some metal beads, and then you hit it and the beads make it rattle and it just goes for a long time. Blue October has used that before on their albums. That effect, that sort of cymbal treatment. I purely think that's just someone going, though, sort of like a white noise sample almost, maybe. Here we have a little bit more vocal or more guitar parts coming in here now. Oh, sorry. I'm a little bit like, oh, please, Blue October. Oh, love this. See, this feels like very awesome hip-hop drums. We have some nice strings in there. The violin, of course. Something that Ryan has played a lot less of over the last decade or so, maybe even the last 2 decades. No. No.
Yeah, those are some heavy words. Yeah, the ceiling is a way of going off on us. But conversation is both birds. I take pride in at least I tried, and I applied everything inside. But how can you love me if you don't even like my vibe? I'm on your side. I know you don't believe me, but I applied everything inside. But
so here we have that high vocal came in now and is in the middle. I hate this. I love the drums. I love what's happening with the song. But I cannot stand that the vocals are like this.
I wish you couldn't take a breath till we fought it out. I wish you wanted this as much as we talk about it. I want to show you what I see in you, but that means you would have to believe it.
And now my fear has been confirmed. And now I'm scared. Does this mean I can't listen to the next 3 Blue October albums? Including this one?
How can you love me if you don't even like my vibe? I'm on your side. I know you don't believe me, but I applied everything inside. But how can you love me if you don't even like my vibe?
Now I'll say one of the same things that I said with the last album, you know. This sort of effect wouldn't bother me as much if I was listening on, you know, like a little boombox or any sort of speakers where it wasn't like you know, like I have a really nice set of speakers over to this side over there that I use with my TV and that I use when I'm working on music and things, studio monitors. And I have them set up so that it works with my TV and my PlayStation and everything. And I love to just sit and listen to albums there. So you hear the vocals are in the middle.
I'll take a chance when I ask you to dance. If wandering eyes brought me true.
What I was going to say was, obviously, if you're listening on headphones, the stereo image is significantly more important because you can discern where everything is in the stereo spectrum. But if you're listening in a car, for example, it might be a lot less difficult. Though in a car, it's a little different as well because when you're sitting in the driver's seat, you're hearing the left speaker a little bit more, and when you're sitting on the the driver in the passenger side, you're hearing the passenger side speaker more. So you can kind of usually tell and discern if there's things on one side if they're not in a vehicle. Obviously, if you're listening on like some sort of a little device or a little pair of speakers, something like that. You know, a lot of people have these like little wireless speakers that they use. I have one that I have set up that I just plug my CD player right into using a little cable, carried around the yard and stuff. Obviously, the stereo image wouldn't even affect that because you really can't discern the stereo image on something like that. But when you're listening on those speakers, for example, I sit in my chair and I have the speakers up and they're very big and they face me. You know, I have them turned so that they face me a little bit. I have them calibrated very nicely so that I can clearly hear the stereo spectrum. I don't think I would be able to listen to this album over there either. Okay, a little sample here. Very cool. I have the sample little delay effect there. Hopefully that's the only song like that on the album. Don't Say It Wasn't Love, track 4. Love the sounds here. Again, I love the drums. The drums are very mono, like you're not hearing very much of the snare or the kick at all. There's no room tone that's spread wide at all. And that's a very hip-hop thing. Wonder if I can change it so that I'm only listening in mono. Appearance, preferences, plugins, playback, Okay, we're on track 4. If we get to track 6 and the rest of the songs are like this, I'm not going to finish listening. I just texted my friend who we always talk about Blue October a lot and how fantastic a lot of their albums sound, particularly Foiled. All right, so that's this track. We get a nice little piano here. Actually, you know what I can do? If there's a few songs on this album that... What I was saying was, I can take the few songs on this album that hopefully, fingers crossed, have regular vocals that are in the middle and not spread wide, and I can rip them off the CD and then rip the several songs off their previous album, and then maybe I can compile one album that I could listen to. Although I would always listen to that knowing in my heart that it's unforgivable that they would record songs like this. So... And I know I seem like such a baby, and it's like, oh, they're just choosing, you know, they want the vocals to sound wider in the mix, you know, and they're doing something different, and, you know, good for them for trying something different, and you know, for having such good audio quality, which is clearly what everything on here is. You know, so I feel bad, but like, this is, you know, there have been several albums throughout. Okay, here we go. Nice strings. Love that. Love the sort of, again, the hip-hop feel. The bass guitar sounds really good. I like the slides.
I'll be gone in a minute. My time is money, sweet like honey. What's so funny? I don't you there's a limit. You'll be watching to change. You'll be watching to change.
I feel like rage. I feel rage right now. Like, I'm so disappointed because just like with the last album, I like everything that I'm hearing. I love the beats that I'm hearing. I love the groove, the feeling of the song. Every song has been slightly different, and I love that. Now, there is a vocal in the middle here. I love those deep vocals that are in there. Those, like, they might even have a bit of like an octave, like a pitch shifted quality to them. But also I know Justin can sing pretty low just himself. I really liked that song a lot.
Downtown with my baby on a Saturday night. Push start the car, but the feeling was right. Uh-huh. Yeah. Uh-huh. You live next to the club down on Montrose Street. We can listen to the Pixies from your bedroom suite. Uh-huh. Yeah. Uh-huh. We break in the museum in the middle of the night. Run from the security and out of the light. I miss those old days.
One more chance. If the next song is like this as well, I'm going to stop. and then I'll try to explain.
And the feeling's right. Yeah.
I'm gonna skip this one. Enough bad words in there that I don't want to mess around with it. As Justin would say, I'm not gonna F with it, you know? Okay, this is the one that seems like it's some sort of like a little thing. Looks pretty cool, but we're gonna skip to the next one. Love the twangy guitar there. And there's multiple tracks of guitar in there with the octave part as well.
There's nothing sexier than being listened to.
Ooh, that's an interesting vocal treatment.
If everyone's
Obviously, it's right in the middle.
You pull through.
It almost feels like there's some kind of
Got a
a...
whole lot of yesterdays, don't care about tomorrow.
There's like a distortion, like a digital
You're not
distortion on there.
romantic if they don't even notice you.
That's really interesting.
Can you quietly love and still resent someone? Or are you keeping them close to keep your eyes on them? Or let's speed up the choke. Amphetamine smoke. Oh, look at that face when you're
It's almost like there's a time stretch on it. See, now, I don't like this song as much as the previous 5 we've heard, because I loved everything that was happening in those songs, but this is 100 million times better to me because the vocals are mixed in the middle. So this one has this nice, more of a laid-back feel, but there's also a bit of like a darkness to it as well. I love the guitar in the background, that sort of twangy guitar. Love that.
Look, I'll take care of you until you take that for granted. I'll never be a runner-up or someone's nominee. But loving me when it's convenient for you is not how I ever planned.
Yeah, it sounds almost like the vocal was
you until the day you said you
time stretched just a little bit
Oh, do you think
to like stretch. It sounds stretched. There's like a bit of like a digitalness to it, like.
hope you
And I'm not saying that that is a negative thing. It's an interesting sound. I don't know if that's like some sort of a filter they put on or something, or some sort of an interesting distortion that they did, or maybe even an artifact from the microphone. I don't know, or the preamp. Vocal here during the chorus. I'm not really getting that same effect on it. Sorry, I gotta adjust my feet, and the table that I'm sitting at has a bar across the bottom. I've been looking for a new table that is about this height, but that doesn't have that there. Love this. This almost makes me think of a bit of like James Bond, maybe a bit. This is the opera singer. Awesome. I'm not sure what language that is. Could be French in looking at it. It's very cool, and just having the drums building. But then there's some reverb sounds in the background, some guitar. There's some interesting sounds in there. It almost sounds like a siren or something, almost. nice. Those crashes are very sidechain compressored. Yeah, but that's okay. I think that if it's used like this, so obvious, it's very cool. It can be very cool. This is the 7-minute song. Okay. Very interesting. I don't know if I've ever heard like a rock band or an alternative rock band, or I don't know, but whatever you decide to call Blue October. I don't know if I've ever heard a band like this have opera in it like that. I listen to a lot of symphonic metal, which has a lot of operatic style vocals. There's a metal band called Therion that is famous for having all sorts of operatic vocals, male and female, in his arrangements, in their arrangements. But I don't know if I've ever heard like just like a straight up an opera verse on a song, on like an alt rock song. Loved all the violin. And it's kind of interesting because there's, like right now you hear this background sound that's kind of getting a little bit louder, kind of like a distorted, haunting sound, almost a little sharp, or there's like a hardness to it. But then you have these lush, very nice strings that are still close mic'd, but that, you know, feel very pretty along with the piano. And you have this sort of almost like background noise in there. Very cool. To me, that's very Blue October. Love the piano. So I don't think that I cared for that song as much as the first one. So of the two songs that are acceptable to me on this album, track 1 is my favorite and track 8 is my number 2. So I was thinking that it maybe sounded a little bit like just sort of like city noise or something in there. Okay. Interesting. Now this kick drum has no high frequency in it whatsoever, just a nice thud, like a thump. Very electronic sounding. And that the background sound, that bass, is sidechain compressed with the kick. So when you hear the kick go... Alright, we're gonna skip to the next song. The Girl Who Stole My Heart. Now this sound you're hearing now is a guitar played with lots of reverb and delay on it, being used almost more as some sort of like a pad or some sort of a background sound. See, now these drums have a stereo image to each of the individual drums, whether it's artificial or if it was recorded that way. I'm assuming that put like sort of like a reverb room effect on it. But you can hear the kick, you can hear the snare, you can even hear the hi-hat. They all sound like they're existing in a room, and it's just not completely dry. Whoa, mention of Christmas. That's very interesting. You very rarely hear. You very rarely hear Christmas mentioned in a song that's not a Christmas song, specifically. So here we have... So we have vocal in the middle, vocal off to the side, vocal off to the side, and I think another vocal in the middle doing harmony parts. And then the callback part is off to the wide. A lot of auto-tune, which I do not have a problem with, especially because it's used as an effect here. Yeah, this just straight up is a Christmas song, so that's cool. It definitely has a different feel, a different vibe than the rest of the album because of all this room tone that's going on with the drums. And the vocals are a lot more velvety. They're a lot more folded into the soundscape rather than being really dry. I'm trying to be positive. I've already just resigned myself to the fact that I don't like this album, but, you know, for the purposes of the reaction and I want to try to go through and focus on the things that I can. And if I get to a song that I can't listen to, we'll just skip it. And obviously I could listen to it. And obviously I could, go through it or whatever, but like, why, there's not much, if I just sit here and bash on a thing or get frustrated and mad at it, that's no good to anybody. And I'll say it now and I'll probably say it 40 times later too, like, I understand that my problem with this all is that it's a subjective thing, like, I personally, it's unacceptable to me that they would do vocals like this. Now, and I'm not saying that you can't have any spread vocals at all. That's ridiculous. But the lead vocal, in my opinion, should always be in the middle. Always. Then you can do all sorts of different things with vocals spread out across the spectrum during special parts of the song, or as background vocals especially. It'd be strange if all vocals in a song were panned in the middle, but the lead vocal should always be in the middle, to me. The song feels almost like it could fade out, which is another unacceptable thing to me, though I'm realizing now that if a song fades out, it frustrates me and I can still listen to that song again. But with these widespread vocals, I just can't even. My friend never texted me back. He just asked what I was saying. I was hoping he'd send me back a message like, yeah, I knew, haha, and I could read it out loud in my reaction, but Chris, you disappointed me by not sending me a text. Okay, yeah, so this definitely won't fade out. They've got it going. That cool sort of feedback on the guitars in there. Very nice, very gritty. And we're kind of ending the song with the way it started, with the drums pretty much primarily being the thing you're hearing. Very cool, a little more reverb tail there at the end on the snare. Okay, all right, faster electronic here. Love that piano / bell part in there. Now I can already tell the vocals are spread here really wide. I'm hoping the vocal comes in the middle. Okay. Yep. Whoa, that was an interesting sound with the bass did there. Now this song, the auto-tune is definitely being used as an effect. I mean, his voice here, he sounds like Eiffel 65 and Blue Dabba Dee Dabba Die, which is interesting. Now we have the dry vocals back. It's kind of cool. That's cool. That I don't know if that was him going, which it could have been. It sounded like that, but could have also been some sort of a shaker or jangly type thing. Like this vocal part here is unacceptable to me. I hate it. This is exactly what happened with their last album. You know, all the songs that had this cool hip-hop feel to them, Justin must have felt that, like, oh, the drum beat's really cool, we'll have that in the middle, and then my vocals will be spread wide, and it'll help the song feel really big, and, you know, you can focus on the drum beat or the vocals, and, like, I mean, that's wanting the vocals very wide is the only way that I could rationalize someone having the vocals like this. You know, here the vocals have all these effects on them. You know, they feel very thin because of the EQing done on them and stuff, and the effects and whatnot. It breaks my heart. Sorry, I'll save my thoughts for the end. I could try to, like, sum all the tracks to mono, but that always causes all sorts of weird loss, and especially when the vocals are like this, I wonder what would even happen if you did that. I should try that just to see what the heck would happen if you summed this to mono. Okay, so here we have a nice... Oh, we're on the penultimate song here? Oh, I guess we are. All right, so I'm almost done with this torture. Maybe we'll go back and listen to that song I skipped because I was just so mad. Because there were very little vocals in that song, so they couldn't have screwed that one up too bad. But now I know I'll probably have to just ignore parts 2 and 3. You know, sorry. Okay, I'm getting too ahead of myself. Nice piano here. It's very nice. Now, I did have it registered in here that, you know, track When Love Isn't Good Enough, piano Jason Peters. Shut Up, I Want You Back, piano Jason Peters. The Kitchen Drawer, piano Jason Peters.
Give you love, give you big love when you cannot love yourself. Yeah, I'll give you love. I'll give you hope, give you big hope, and we will be holding you up today. I know you're feeling like
okay.
the world is on your shoulders.
Vocal in the middle. So we have those effects still now on the kick and the snare, so it sounds much more roomy and less like crazy, like dry drums. I was excited to listen to this song because this is the one that has the Texas State University Gospel Expressions, which is, I believe, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 people. So if it's like a little gospel choir, I love gospel choir. And as far as I know, the last time Blue October used that, I would just listen to it earlier today. What's that song? Oh, if ever carried the weight of another, for how long? Right? I walk as far as I need to recover. The end of that song has a bit of like a gospel vocals in there, at least. I'm not sure if you'd call that a gospel choir, but I really enjoy that song on, again, my favorite album of theirs, Foiled. Here, a tambourine off to the sides, very nice. Some extra cymbals and things too off to the side. While I'm still hearing the hi-hat going. Now, one of those things probably just a digital version. Okay, here we go. Now I think we hear some choir.
Give you love, give you big love when you cannot love yourself. I'll give you love, I'll give you hope, give you big hope, and we will be holding you up. We will be
Certainly a bit of like Imagine Dragons in here, and I am not one of those people that just hates on Imagine Dragons. I actually really enjoy Imagine Dragons. I skipped 2 of their albums, and I bought their most recent album, which is actually like a double album. I bought their album last year, and I bought their album from this year, which is their album from last year plus their album from this year. And I think their album from this year is way better than their one from last year, but this is definitely like Imagine Dragons vibes. But I wish Imagine Dragons would make stuff more like this. Their most recent album, specifically the one that I've heard, because I went from their second album to... I skipped their third and fourth album, I believe. No. Yeah. And then this is their 5th album, this double album thing that I'm talking about, which is... I can't remember what it's called. A Human something, maybe, part 1 and 2. But... Anyway... They have a lot. Their music sounds a lot more electronic, drum beats and stuff, and then very simple bass line, and then just vocals is pretty much all their music is on this album. So I'd like them to go back to more of like a bit of a rock feel like this.
Hey man, this is Young Dada hollering to you. I'm headed for the bay. Thought I'd holler at you and Chairman. I just listened to Remission. That sure is a relaxing song. So, thank you. Bye.
All right, we're going to go back to that one that I couldn't listen to. The Kitchen Drawer. We'll listen to that. And see, there's only 4 lines of vocals, so even if they did screw those vocal lines up, even if they did decide to have that effect on it that I can't stand, the rest of the 4 minutes should be interesting to listen to. And now this is halfway through the album as well, I believe, so this is probably the sort of thought of as the intermission. Now the lyrics in here, I will say. The lyrics are, I'm just in the way, spread out on the floor. I can tell you don't need me. I'm the junk in the kitchen drawer. I'm just in the way, spread out on the floor. I can tell you don't need me. I'm the junk in the kitchen drawer. So we'll see. Now, Blue October has had other, in their previous albums, where did I put those? All down here, yeah. We'll get these out so I can hold on to them like a security blanket and say that Blue October has so many really good albums, and it's just these 2 that are garbage. So I'll leave that out. And here, I'll make myself feel even better and just put Foiled out here. So just like I thought, this is sort of just an... Ooh, piano. So for extra musicians in the kitchen drawer, all it says is piano, Jason Peters. So a very pitch-shifted down vocal with auto-tune on it. Oh. Very cool. I hope you're happy. I hope you're good. I hope you get what you ask for, and that you're well understood. But whatever you ask for, whatever. Okay, that's enough for that. Okay. All right. Well, let's take this out of my computer so that I don't have to tarnish any of my devices by having this in the vicinity. We can just throw that right over there. And say that my fears came true. If you skipped to the end of the video here, you might be saying to yourself, "Whoa, that seemed really quick." Well, that's because I couldn't listen to this album. Because exactly what I was saying before, it came to pass. Blue October let me, personally, down. And now I don't know if I'll be able to listen to the next two albums if they try to do them sonically similar to this one. So, yeah, they decided to do it again. Justin decided to have the vocals spread wide for a vast majority of the album. And like I said, the only reason I could see wanting to do that would be because you like the feeling of having the vocals feel really wide. Like, you know, especially like the thing that's most frustrating to me is like those songs at the end of the album where I was able to listen to them, I think, and even track 1 to an extent. The style of those songs was a little bit more laid back, and then those songs where Justin had the vocal spread wide were the songs that I would have definitely liked the most, with those cool hip hop drums in the middle and having the bass and whatnot. And you know, I would assume that what he was trying to do was have these really cool beats in the rhythm section in the middle of the song, and have the songs be in some ways a little bit more, even more stripped back, even though they don't feel stripped in the sense that like a stripped performance would be like mostly acoustic instruments and stuff. I'm assuming what he was doing was, let's put the cool rhythm section, the beat in the middle, and have it feel kind of cool, like an old hip hop song, you know, which a lot of hip hop stuff was. The music is almost entirely mono, and then they might have a couple things in the music wide, and then they can spread the vocals out a little bit, have gang vocals in the backgrounds and stuff spread. But almost all hip-hop stuff, the vocals are still in the middle as well. A lot of older hip-hop stuff, which I'm not an expert on hip-hop stuff at all, but all the older sort of hip-hop stuff that I've heard, it's almost a mono, like mostly a mono song. And then they just had gang vocals and shout vocals and certain effects and things that were maybe a little bit spread wide. And a lot of that had to do with the fact that a lot of hip-hop records were based off of samples. Hip-hop songs were based off of samples of older music that was only recorded and released in mono. So you obviously couldn't have like a stereo image for any of the drums or anything on those older recordings because they were just only ever released in mono on a vinyl record or whatever. But... so I assume what Justin was trying to do was just, you know, have the songs sound really cool, and then he wanted to have the vocals spread really wide and very dry. And I don't know why he, you know, to me that is unacceptable. Like, I can't listen to it. It's too different than what I'm used to. It's beyond the line of what would be considered like normal or for a song, you know, and so, you know, I talk a lot on my channel here about how there's a lot of ways that I enjoy music that is very stereotypical or cliched almost in a lot of ways. Like, it's kind of hard to word this, but like structuring wise, I like the very classic, you know, ABA style structure of a song, you know, intro, verse 1, chorus, verse 2, chorus, bridge, chorus, outro. If every song ever was like that, I would be very happy. You know, I think it's cool when you have a band like Nightwish, for example, who can have that same structure, but there's all sorts of different extra parts in the middle. And even some like prog rock bands, prog metal bands that I listen to, and things like Frost is a good example. You know, they'll have maybe a 13-minute song, and they'll do sort of, you know, intro, verse 1, chorus, verse 2, chorus, and then there'll be like a whole other song. But usually it comes back to the chorus one last time, and even if not, but I very much, I guess one of the reasons I bring that up is because like my personal taste is that I very much enjoy knowing what to expect and having it be what I expect. and I don't expect to hear the vocals spread wide. It's like, it's one of the same reasons it's hard for me to listen to something like the Beatles in stereo, or one of my favorite old-timey artists, Nancy Sinatra. I absolutely love her music, but her music was being made at a time when you would have the drum kit off to the side with the bass, and then you have like a group of backing vocals or strings or something off to the far right, and then her vocals would either be in the middle or maybe off with the rhythm section. So if you're listening on headphones, there's nothing in the middle and you're just hearing stuff spread really wide. There's a whole era, a whole generation of music where stuff is panned extreme left, extreme right, and that has to do with like 4-track tapes and stuff, and how stereo was being used. And there's a Beatles song about him, Blackbird or something like that, where he's like, you hear on the left side is just Paul McCartney tapping his foot the whole time. And I remember someone showing me that once and thinking like, and them being like, isn't that amazing? And me just being like, no, that's stupid. It's distracting and it's a terrible way to use the stereo spectrum. And that was many, many years ago now. And I guess I shouldn't talk about the Beatles because I'm not an expert on the Beatles. And I wouldn't even say that I enjoy the Beatles that much, because the only Beatles that I know are like their huge hit songs. But there's really no music that I do like that is, the panning is weird on it. There really isn't almost. Nancy Sinatra is definitely one of those sort of exceptions to the rule, and the most part for that is because a lot of her stuff was released in mono as well as stereo, and I've listened to the mono mixes. And also when I do listen to her stuff, it's usually on vinyl, and that's on a separate player that it doesn't matter too much the stereo image because I'm not listening to it on headphones, which is something that I should mention with the Blue October here. I even said when I was trying to listen to the music, because it's unacceptable to me personally that the vocals are spread wide like they are on a majority of this album, like 70% or so. Like I couldn't listen to this album on headphones or over in my chair over there that I have with my PlayStation and my whole speaker setup with my nice speakers that I use for listening to my TV, watching a movie in surround sound and stuff. But then also I move all that stuff out of the way and I set my computer up over there when I'm working on my own music and things like that. And that I have it set up in such a way that the stereo image is very present. I sit in the middle and I have the speakers calibrated and everything so that it's very accurate. And I don't think I could listen to this album over there. However, if you had, like, I carry my portable CD player around with me, from doing stuff outside or wherever I'm going, with a little like most people, they're little Bluetooth speakers. I don't use the Bluetooth aspect of them. I just plug my little portable CD player into them. But I could definitely listen to this album on that because you can't really discern the stereo spectrum there. And so, maybe that's something that I'll have to, it doesn't matter because I don't like this album because of this. So like, I'm not going to really waste my time trying to listen to it in any other way because I know that I will never be able to allow myself to get anything more out of it because I'm just so disappointed that it is the way that it is. And if Blue October continues to do this in the future, I'm going to have to be done with Blue October, which is very disappointing. I just hope that someday they'll go back to mixing their albums the way that they had been done for the first, for all of these albums. Minus that, I think I put I'm not sure where the other bad one went, over there on the floor. So these are great, and this is why Blue October is one of my favorite bands. But these two newest albums, just no, not at all for me. I loved the drum production on the songs that I heard. I mentioned that the last few tracks there had, for the most part, the drums on the album, the first half specifically, the drums were very dry and they were panned in the middle. And that's the thing that I liked the most about everything I was hearing. And then I couldn't listen to it anymore because of the spread vocals. But I liked that. The production was very good. And then later on in the album, there were a couple songs, then the last two, maybe the last three, that I listened to at least. The drums had a room tone to them. Now, I'm going to venture to say that they had picked their sound of the drums for those songs, and then they added sort of like a room tone to it. Like you can add a short reverb to a dry dry. So you have a dry drum kick. So okay, so you have a dry kick sound, right? And it's just in the middle, and it's just right. You can take and add a short reverb to it that's spread wide, like a stereo reverb that's becomes like, it sounds like you can hear it sitting in a room. Then if you print that and make that, or it depends on your chain of plugins and whatnot, then you can add a different, like a more of a reverb to that. And then what you're doing is you're adding a reverb to that short reverb sound, which can make the whole room tone more present. Hopefully that makes sense. When I say room tone, I mean it sounds like you're standing further away from a drum. You know, if you think about an acoustic guitar in a concert hall, for example, if you had your head 2 feet away from the acoustic guitar, it would sound like the acoustic guitar is very close to you, right? It'd sound more intimate. But if you were standing at the back of the hall, you would hear so much more of the room. And so you can create that sort of hearing the room effect, room tone, using reverbs and stuff. And there's ways you can do it in such a way that it makes it feel natural rather than just making it sound like it's got reverb on it. Hopefully that makes sense. And so those last few songs, they did that to the drums. You really could feel the room that the drums were in. And there's different ways of doing that. You can do it artificially, which is how I just described with the short reverb, and then adding more reverb to that, like to the signals overall. Like I would guess that there was a short reverb added to each of the individual drum tracks, the kick drum, the snare drum, and then maybe the overheads or whatever. And then they sent those all to a bus, and then there was a reverb on all of those, and that's how they got it to sound a lot more present and more longer tail on the reverb. Maybe with some compression on that that bus track as well. Or when you're recording the drums, you can have what's called room mics in the room, where you just have mics placed further away. In some studios, they have a special microphone that you can take and you just attach it to. I don't know if you can. I think you should be. Yeah, they just have a flat. It's like a special kind of a mic that you attach to a wall or to a glass window. If you have like a window that you're looking to into the studio, you can attach it to it. And what it does is it uses some of the vibrations in the wall and everything, and it catches the signal from out, and it's I forget what that type of microphone is called, but a lot of times people will use that. They'll just have that up and they'll always record that track, and maybe they'll just throw it away. You don't ever use it, but you can bring it up in the mix if you want to try to add some more of that room tone. Also, sometimes people who record overhead microphones, they'll have a pair of overheads on the drums closer, and then they might have another pair of like room mics further away to get more of the room tone. You could just throw a microphone in the corner, do whatever you want. And out in the hallway, you know, some studios like Depeche Mode's famous for having microphones sitting out in the hallways and using those sort of sounds in some of their albums from the 80s to get some more of like a natural reverb and things. So you can do that kind of effect with different things, but I think I don't even really know what to say. This is just so disappointing to me. And I'm sure I'm going to go back and laugh at myself watching that second track, because I mentioned it that I was like sweating, like I could feel my whole body tensed when the vocals started, and it was the way I can't stand it. My whole body tensed, and I could feel myself getting hot. Like, I wonder if you'll even be able to see in the video that my face was starting to get red. But I could just feel like rage and disappointment and frustration building inside of me. And that just is such a bummer. Now, I have to say, because, you know, I understand that this is me. This is a me problem. And there are probably a vast majority of people who like Blue October listen to this album and maybe didn't even notice that the vocals were like that. That didn't bother them at all. I would assume if you listen to it with headphones or earbuds or some sort of a thing like that, that you would there's no way you couldn't notice. But maybe someone would not even really pay attention to it like that, you know, or it wouldn't bother them as much as it bothers me, like to the point where I can't even listen to it. So I get that. Like, this is a personal thing for me. Like, I 100% understand that. And I'm not saying that what they did that they did anything wrong. I personally think that they made the wrong choice to mix the songs and the vocals this way, and I would never do that, and I wish that they didn't do it on any of the songs with anything except background vocals. I said it in the thing, but maybe I should repeat it here. Like, I'm not saying vocals should never be spread wide. I'm saying there should always be a lead vocal anchoring in the middle. That's what I'm saying. There should always be a lead vocal in the middle. If you come to a chorus and you have the vocal spread wide and there's all sorts of different things going on and it's being used as an effect, that's cool. That can really separate that chorus. But you shouldn't have the vocals that way the whole song. In my opinion, it's unacceptable. But the point I was trying to get at a little bit ago was that everything that they did well. I just wish they wouldn't have done it. And again, that is me. That is my subjective personal opinion. So I'm not saying that the music is bad or terrible because of any performance thing or, I just think that it was, in my opinion, it is bad and terrible and unlistenable and unacceptable because of the choice to make the vocals like that. So I want to make that clear. I'm not hating the music I'm only hating it because of the decision that they made. So I know I'm starting to sound like I'm making excuses, but I'm just trying to say I understand how someone could listen to this and not be as offended by it as I am. Because a lot of people aren't as anal about stuff like that as I am, but that is how I am with music. Anyone that knows me knows. If you watch videos on my channel here before where a song fades out, it is unacceptable to me. There are certain production things that are unacceptable to me, and I've listened to bad albums on my channel here. The Diablo Swing Orchestra that was released last year, I think maybe it was the year before, in December, I think. But go find the Diablo Swing Orchestra album on my channel. That album is legitimately bad. It's objectively subjective. That album is objectively bad. This album, to me, is subjectively unacceptable. Unacceptable. So that means that I understand that people could like it. I, however, cannot get over it. And so rather than harp on it, I'm just going to end the video here. You know how I feel about it. You could tell if you watched me try to listen to it. A huge bummer to me. I don't know. This Blue October has been tainted for me now because of these last two albums. I will say until the day that I die that Foiled is one of the greatest albums I have ever heard. Production-wise, songwriting-wise, length-wise, everything about it I think is fantastic, with the exception of the intro song, which is the weakest song on the album. But Blue October tends to do that, I think. They always have the weakest song on the album be the first song, which I think is really interesting and weird. And I'm sure I could write some sort of a paper about that. But there's so much good Blue October out there. I still feel okay liking them as a band because they still have all of this, which is magical and wonderful. And the fact that they have two albums that I can't listen to is huge disappointment. But if moving forward they continue with this, I will have to, obviously I will not purchase the next Blue October album. I will just listen to it on Spotify. And if I get halfway through the album and it's all good, then I would consider purchasing it. But from now on, I will have to do that with Blue October. Whereas before, if you would have said new Blue October, I would have been like, here's my money, give it to me. I want to experience it when it comes out, and I'm going to love it. But unfortunately, that is no longer the case. So, like I said, I'm just going to end the video here, and it is what it is. Stay tuned on my channel for other things that I promise I do like. Most of the things I listen to. I have the new Cell Dweller coming. That was actually the thing I was looking most forward to. I was hoping when I got this Blue October in the mail that I was getting the new Cell Dweller, but it was the Blue October instead. And so I was like, okay, I'm excited for that too. And now I just, my heart hurts. Yeah. We'll just end it there. Yeah. See you next time.